Okay guys, we're back. I hope everybody got their pattern pieces cut out. Now it's time to cut the pattern piece from the fabric and sew it. So I have a 44-inch camouflage fabric. So mine is folded a little differently. Still, the fold is towards you and the selvages are away from you. It's just that I have mine folded. I have it overlapping so I can sew both pieces at the same time. If you have a 58-60 width fabric, you can fold yours hot dog style. Instead of folding it hamburger style like I have mine, you can fold yours hot dog style and place it on the fold and cut it accordingly. But because this is a shorter fabric, is not going to cut on the fold. So that's why I have mine folded the way that I have it folded, so that I can cut front and back pieces at the same time. So again, I have both of my folds in front of me. And I'm going to place my pattern piece on the fold, and it would be nice to go ahead and label what your pattern is, what it's used for, so you'll know that this is the sleeveless pattern. And you can store it wherever you know, just keep in mind it is paper. So, you know, try to keep it, and it can rip, so just understand that. So I'm just going to put my washers down so that it'll keep my paper from folding up, so that I can actually cut my fabric correctly. Fabric scissors, and we're going to go ahead and cut the fabric. Alrighty, so we have it cut out. And you also would probably need to, if you're using a cotton fabric or something that, well, you probably want to have your iron plugged up, because it's just easy sometimes when you sew something, you can iron your seams flat. It makes it easy when you're getting ready to hem your items as well. So I already have my iron on. And when we get to that part, I'm going to go over and iron my seams flat. So you put your pattern piece to the side, and do not throw your scraps away. You can use that for something, a lot of something. So wherever you store your scraps at, just add this to it. And we're going to go ahead and get our pieces prepared to sew them. When you're sewing, you always sew right sides together. And this is how the pattern piece is initially going to look. It's going to extend over your shoulder, and it's going to come down. So we're going to put right sides together. And after we put right sides together, we're going to fold it, and we're going to make our neckline. Okay, just match everything back up. fold it. Now, with making your neckline, the rule of thumb that is normally 3 to 4 inches. So I'm going to use mine at, make my neckline at 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna come down 3.5 inches. Now, because I'm writing on the actual fabric, I'm not going to write on the fabric with the permanent marker. I'm going to use my fabric chalk, and I'm keeping my finger right here so that I can keep extending it, which is called pivoting. I'm going to pivot all over until we have it all the way across at 3.5 inches. And we're going to cut that dotted line out, and that would be our neckline. This piece you can throw away. So, here's the simple part. It's just time to sew it. So, with sewing this, we're only going to sew the side seams, the shoulder seams. We're only going to sew the shoulder seams. So this shoulder, we're going to sew it at 5/8 seam allowance with a straight stitch, and we're going to sew this shoulder seam the same way, 5/8 inch seam allowance with a straight stitch. And you can also pin it if you would like. Okay, let me get my sewing machine together so that we can go ahead and sew it. Now, with this being a camouflage fabric, any thread that you choose that's one of the colors is perfectly fine, but you should always sew with coordinating matching threads. Now, if you're doing something to show someone and you wanted them to see, then that will be the only reason. But you always sew with coordinating matching threads. So you're going to place your fabric under your needle, press a foot, and you're going to sew it 5/8 seam allowance. And you're also going to backstitch at the beginning and at the end. My machine does it for me. So if you don't see me particularly backstitching at the beginning and the end, my machine is doing it for me. Now, the grooves on your sewing machine, it shows you that where your 5/8 is, and you just line the edge of your fabric up to that, and you sew it. Remember the backstitch? Do not sew over your pin. Clip off any extra threads hanging, clip those off, and then we're going to sew the other side seam. Five-eighths seam allowance, guys, straight stitch. My thread is caught or something. There we go. we've done sewing both of the side seams. I cutting off my extra pieces of thread. Now you're going to go to your ironing board and you're going to iron your seams flat. You're going to go and open them up, and you're going to iron them flat and open. You're going to iron them flat and open on both sides, and you're going to hem the top, both sides, and the bottom. Be right back.